we are joined right now by Mary Trump, President Trump's niece and the author of Too Much and Never Enough, How My Family Created the World's Most Dangerous Man. Mary, thank you for coming back on the show. And to get right to it, I'll ask you and the viewers to take a listen to how your uncle just described his COVID recovery today.
I'm feeling good, really good. I think perfect. And we're ready to go. I'm ready to go, except the quarantine situation that you have for a little while after you get tested or whatever the procedure is. But I'm ready to do. I'm looking forward to doing the rallies.
Your response to that assessment and his approach?
We haven't gotten this real story from this White House or the doctors at Walter Reed since the beginning of this. As far as I understand it, we still don't know when he last tested negative or his last test before the positive test, which is crucial information if you care about the well-being of other human beings. So there's that. So, you know, Donald is going to put the best face on this no matter what. So I don't know when we'll actually know how he's feeling or what the course of this illness has been. But the fact that he's talking about holding rallies is just another in a now endless stream of selfish acts that, selfish isn't even a good enough word. It's unspeakable at this point, the lack of concern for the people around him. And I'm not entirely sure. I continue to be astonished that nobody is trying to put a stop to this.
Do you see anything here that matches or departs from the way he conducted himself around the family when it comes to something all families think about, which is protecting the people closest to you?
No, there was always a casual disregard for other people's well-being, and sometimes to devastating effect. I saw it with my grandmother, and I saw it especially, of course, with my dad, whose alcoholism was treated like a moral failing, and he was essentially shunned for it.
You've written about this to some degree, but it is relevant here because the president is not using this moment, which his own advisors, some of whom maybe were out of touch with the patterns, but had now said in leaked quotes, well, this could have been a chance to empathize with something everyone's going through, which I think is certainly true. And if he went out and did that, we would report that. But far from it, his emphasis on fast recovery, on this being perfect, on don't let it dominate you as if everyone is in the position he's in, which we're subsidizing, obviously, as taxpayers, the health care. And the emphasis on being perfect as if having the frailty of something that the whole world is at risk for would itself be a negative. Did that echo at all in the way that Donald Trump's also largely in public view avoided ever reckoning with that alcoholism that you mentioned, which, again, is something that people go through, not necessarily because of personal weakness, quote unquote?
This is a pattern that we've seen, I think, for a long time. Donald, for whatever reason, has an opportunity to, even if it's only for political expedience, honestly, to be somebody who's leading the entire country, who's bringing us together, who's offering comfort. And time again, he cannot do it. First of all, he can't do it because in this case, to admit that the virus has had a significant impact on him would be to admit weakness. And secondly, he thrives in division and chaos. So the idea of bringing people together, it just doesn't, it's like a foreign language to him. It makes no sense. And why would he do it?
It's anathema, yeah. Mary, I want you to stay with me. We went right to you, as Nicole Wallace mentioned, because we're excited to have your insights here. But I also want to remind viewers here on what's not on display this week. The president tweeting, phoning into Fox, but he hasn't done a public appearance since he was seen just once live returning from the hospital Monday. Instead, he has been working with aides to release these stage-crafted videos, government produced, so the public doesn't really know how many takes they involved, whether they reflect Trump's current state of health or any moments of low energy. Trump himself says he's been very sick at one point during this period. Doctors stressing that he is still in the window of recovery. Take a look.
I went into the hospital a week ago. I was very sick. And I took this medicine, and it was incredible. It was incredible. I could have walked out the following day, sooner.
Now, let's be clear for viewers. Medically, that's just a self-assessment, like using Twitter or a diary. But it is the doctors who, of course, have the final word. They believe, based on what we know, that he would remain contagious with the virus. They've declined to provide any medical briefing update since Monday, a secrecy that follows Donald Trump's approach to taxes, where he was hiding something that we later learned was, of course, this embarrassing deadbeat tax record. He was busted by the New York Times. He's also been hiding his health details long before this COVID scare. Remember that unexpected visit to Walter Reed last year? The White House still hiding those details. They said it was a routine physical. We think that based on the public reporting, because it was so rushed, it didn't look very routine. Now, public officials' health is a matter of public interest. Now, regular citizens have their medical privacy protected under federal law and strict rules binding doctors. But in an echo of this unusual tax secrecy that I mentioned, Trump's also been demanding his current doctors sign these secrecy agreements, or NDAs, which would give him more leverage to sue them. Two doctors flat out refused and thus would have been prevented from treating him. Mary, I mention all that because it's quite important to understand both the personal side and him as a human being, which he is, and you've spoken to that as your uncle, but he's also the sitting president and that level of secrecy. What, if anything, do you see there in someone literally, again, an NDA is just an extra tool to sue someone. So beyond the federal requirements, he wants to be able to potentially sue his doctors.
It's another instance in which, totally unwittingly, Donald has helped us uncover serious weaknesses and flaws in our systems. This shouldn't be allowed to happen. He is in the Oval Office. His health is of concern to everybody on the planet. And I think when you run for office at this level, you do have to forfeit some claim to privacy, because the impact of your physical or psychological health or lack thereof has an impact on the day-to-day lives of all Americans. And I think we see how that's been unfolding.
Yeah, and to build on that and go into the history here, something that I think is difficult, no matter what one thinks they understand about Donald Trump, is also the psychology, which you, of course, know a lot about, that even though we can be skeptical, even cynical, even with the year we're living through, it is not that easy for human beings to hear something and assume it has zero weight. So whether it is a claim or an exaggeration or gossip that we may think, well, who knows how true that is, it is our tendency to believe some of it, that it infects, if you will, to use a word of the day or the year, our mind. And it seems that Donald Trump has been hacking through that for a very long time, which is important now with the public health crisis. But take a look at something we put together for your thoughts. We now know facts that he was completely running these businesses into the ground, bankruptcy, casinos, that he was running out of money. It's all been exposed. And yet at the time, particularly with less, sort of political static around it, many people heard him and believed he was partly telling the truth, or he must have had something up his sleeve. Take a look.
We think the Taj Mahal is beyond belief from any standpoint, and we think it's going to be a tremendous success. It's going to be tremendously successful. It's going to be great for Atlantic City. It's going to be great for everybody. Atlantic City is right now at a really great turning point, and it's going to go one way or the other, and I'm going to damn well make sure it goes the other.
Do you see an echo here?
Yeah, and actually, it turns out he was right. He did make it go the other. Yeah, of course I see an echo. He first of all, has mastered the idea of repetition, because so much goes on behind the scenes. And if you have all of the cameras and microphones in front of you and you keep repeating what you want people to think of you or what you've accomplished, then you're going to be more successful at that. But the pattern, of course, is that while he was saying that, because of his really terrible decisions, bankrupted 3 of his casinos. The Taj Mahal basically cannibalized the earnings of his other 2 casinos, much to their detriment. So it's all smoke and mirrors. The problem, of course, has always been that despite those failures, he's always had people buying him out of trouble, most notably my grandfather, who gave him in excess of $400 million during his lifetime. And, the banks and the media, it's also important for people to understand that while businesses were filing for bankruptcies, he was receiving $450,000 a month as an allowance from the banks just to cover his personal expenses.
Now, did he do his chores for that allowance?
I'm going to leave that to you, but my guess would be no.
Yeah, well, that's a real family question. But it is remarkable, and even the language, even the way we think about it, because the utter hypocrisy, and I say that as a factual observation. You can have ideological reasons for supporting either party, but the hypocrisy of someone being associated with tax cuts, bootstraps, less government support, when we've just shown, and you've just alluded to, all of that support from others. The ultimate macro super welfare. I mean, there isn't welfare good enough to even call it welfare. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.